Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, but as you can see above, this is not specifically an Old Man Gaming video. This is an in unison video right here. I'm mainly opening this bad boy because this is a situation I am aware of, but I am not specifically sure of the specifics, and that's when we go to our unofficial partner of the TTRPG space. That would be Wizards Respite. So here's what I know so far, Wiz, on this situation that we're going to talk about today. Pinkertons, basically, and for anybody who doesn't know out there or hasn't read detective novels their entire life, which I have, Pinkertons has been around since I think the 40s, early 40s. They market themselves as detectives, but they're in actuality just hired mercenaries with TV ads. Basically, they're thugs with hired with TV ads. They were hired by, I believe, Wizards of the Coast to collect Magic the Gathering cards from somebody's house. So they have gone from our open source issues to their weird reverse racism issues to this. So we gotta talk about it. So obviously Wizards Respite is here. Ash, thank you so much. Let's get into it, man. What is this all about? What's the deal? What's going on?
Okay, so yeah, I've been looking at this pretty closely for a number of reasons. The biggest one is I'm, super into TTRPG. I do a lot of D&D content on my website, and I've made a lot of great connections that are really into the D&D world. So this is a Magic the Gathering sort of problem. It's not super the Magic the Gathering part isn't really my strongest suit. I haven't played that for a very, very, very long time. But I have been keeping an eye on Wizards and their shenanigans. And this is another one that's pretty bad. It's pretty ugly. And so what happened essentially is a YouTuber who was kind of new to it. He wasn't one of the big giant YouTubers. He came out. He got a pack of Magic the Gathering cards before they were released. Um, it they have a over at Wizards. They have a kind of a way of releasing spoilers for their cards before they get dropped. At least that's my understanding. Um, he got them before that even started, so that marketing campaign kind of got derailed when this guy got them. He opened them on his channel and he talked about them.
Did he get them in any illicit way, or was this part of a promotion? Because video games have that where like they send out review copies, and sometimes stuff like that leaks.
Yeah, yeah. So from and now this is what he has said and what seems to be confirmed by Wizard's statements back to him. But he got them from a buddy of his. He says that several times in his video. He got this from a buddy. It sounded like there was a pretty good chance. What it kind of sounded like is he had a buddy who probably got them early. He may have worked at a game store. He may have gotten them in advance. Um, but he accidentally gave it to the YouTuber,
Mm.
and the YouTuber, you know, got this package but it has not been spoiled yet. It's way in advance, and it should have been to the public. And he started opening them. So on his part, it's kind of an accident thing. On the buddy's part, it doesn't sound like he really realized what was going on. Neither one of them did. And the YouTuber that opened them, um, had said several times like he doesn't even know how he got these. He doesn't even think they got spoiled yet, which is their marketing um, campaign that they do right before a release. They spoil little bits of the cards to kind of drum up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the card game
So
version of trailers, basically.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so that's the big nuts and the bolts of that. What he did. I want to get back to that in a second, but first, the response was from Wizards of the Coast to hire the Pinkertons a detective agency that is known for some not so great practices, even up to today, to go and retrieve the cards, or at very least to approach the individual. I can't say retrieve. Nobody has any documentation detailing what their contract was with Wizards, but what they did do was approach the YouTuber and demand the cards back. Um, they intimidated him, they bullied him, and he gave the cards back, very fearful
Yeah.
of what was going on. Obviously, the internet has kind of exploded over this, and that's kind of the big picture, nuts and bolts of what happened. Uh, like I said, I want to go back to the YouTuber. There had been some comments I've noticed about saying, the YouTuber shouldn't have been putting this online. It did
Hmm.
derail Wizards' marketing campaign, which is fair. He shouldn't have done that. I've watched the video, which, by the way, I should shoot you over some links. They did pull the video down off of YouTube. It is on the Wayback Machine, so you can still watch it. Um, some people are really some people are saying that he didn't do right by, Wizards by talking about these cards. And I do understand that it really didn't sound like he knew what he was doing.
Right.
It like when he's opening these things, he's just like, "Wow, this is so cool. I didn't even know I could do this," or "I don't know what these cards are, but I'm really excited about them." It didn't sound like he was like pushing any agenda of, "I got these cards early. Guess what? I'm spoiling everybody." Or none of that stuff was on the video.
Okay.
Um, he got lucky,
It's
and he's
either
a
it's either
YouTuber.
luck or ignorance in some way, shape, or form, and it seems like the response was over the top. But before we get into a back and forth, because I already have some comments on that part, guys, we're in rare presence here because Wizard actually was employed as a private investigator at one time in his life. So I'm wondering if you have any additional insight into this situation, especially with the Pinkertons, based on your previous experience.
Yeah, so I do. Before I get into it, though, real quick disclaimer: I was a private investigator in the state of Texas, so some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about pertains to the laws in the state of Texas.
Right.
Every state has their own laws.
Mm-hmm.
They regulate their own private investigators, and it varies wildly. So if I say something, it's about laws in Texas. This was a number of years ago. Some of these laws may have changed a little bit, but they weren't really in need of changing. So that's probably mostly accurate to today. There isn't, I'm not going to be talking about anything that's kind of crazy, and I've been keeping up with some of the basics. So
Right.
there's that. As far as um, specifics for this situation, the Pinkertons and all of this, like, the first thing I want to say is that there are different ways of being a private investigator. Um, for instance, what the Pinkertons did do going up to this guy, demanding the cards back. I said retrieval. It sounded to me like their contract would have been for retrieval. Sounded to me, I don't know, haven't seen the contract. The reason why I'm saying this is, as a private investigator, when I was working this, you do not step outside the bounds of your contract. If your contract was, just delivering paperwork, that's what it was. Sometimes you get that kind of work. If it was surveillance, that's what you do. You do not step outside of that contract. Might not get paid. You might also get into big trouble for
Right.
various reasons if you do.
Right.
Um, so they went up to this guy's house. It sounds like to me that unless somebody at the Pinkertons screwed up, that was what they were asked to do. You wouldn't do that if you weren't
Right.
asked to retrieve the cards. Um, Second, the so my company that I worked for would not do this kind of contract.
Like retrieval
Um,
contracts seem like it's problematic right off the bat. You're asking,
yeah,
you're signing a contract to recover an item from somebody that could include breaking and entering or intimidation or other sort of law breaking things.
right. There's the issue for, like an incentive to do something like that. Even if you don't do something like that, there's still kind of like a seediness to it. Like, um, like most private investigators that are particularly professional private investigators know the laws very well. They know exactly how far they can push their boundaries. Um, and in my company, for instance, would never have pushed these boundaries.
Right.
Um, my boss was a police officer, a retired police officer, semi-retired. He still worked for the county at the time. He would never have asked me to do this. The closest thing we ever had to this was we did have a corporate dispute where partners were separating, and one partnership felt like the other separating entity was going to steal uh, um, assets from the building. So they asked us to not intimidate anybody, but just to set up in front of the building with our cameras to record any material being taken from the building.
Okay.
That's the closest that we would ever get. Like, I was explicitly told, do not talk to anybody, gather evidence. You're there to make sure everybody knows that if you break the law and you steal, you will there will be evidence of it. You will be brought to court.
Okay.
Do not talk to them. Um, we would not do that kind of job. Now other private investigators would, because they would know what they could say exactly in that state that would be considered intimidation or harassment, and what would not be intimidation or harassment, and they could march on that line pretty hard. Um, and another thing, and this is not, I'm not accusing any individual entity of this. I'm not accusing the Pinkertons of this, but some private investigators straight up do break the law. They know the laws really well, and they know how to get around them. In order to become a private investigator for Texas, you do have to have like a certain degree of either schooling in criminal justice or on-the-job training, and you have to pass certain tests that prove that you know the laws. So they know how the system works. They know what they're doing.
Does Texas have an hour requirement too?
It does. It
Okay.
does. So, and there's ways of getting around that hour of on-the-job training, like with a certain degree of schooling. Like, I
Yeah.
think if you have a bachelor's degree, you're able to sidestep most, if not all, of the hours of schooling necessary, or I mean,
On the job
on-the-job
training.
training. So it's kind of like an apprenticeship a little
Right.
bit, which is what I was essentially doing.
Yeah.
I had my license as a private investigator. I was working under my boss's license as a private investigator manager because he owned the business. And I was learning from him, and I was learning from more seasoned investigators while I was out there. During that learning process, I did hear about other investigation companies that, did things that weren't always what we would consider ethical, or even like they would be towing the line. The Pinkertons did kind of have that reputation for sure. Um, I I never worked for the Pinkertons. I don't want to say anything specifically too far beyond
Right.
that, but
Right.
to, from being in the business, they had a reputation. Um, and like I said, that a retrieval contract like this, not something we would have done.
Right.
Um, but they did this action, so that is obviously something that they would do for obvious reasons.
The
That makes sense.
Pinkertons, yeah, it totally makes sense. The way I know the Pinkertons is I am a ridiculously obsessed person with detective stories and detective books and stuff like that. I just always have been. I've read a ton of books. All of them are detective books, just all of them. And, Dashiell Hammett, Maltese Falcon, he also wrote, I believe it's called Red City. It's all about him being in the Pinkertons and doing tons of terrible shit to try and shut a town down and coming to terms with his evil self. And like there are a lot of books out there that just like books that are like, these guys are evil. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. To the point where like I didn't know the Pinkertons were a real thing until like I want to say I was almost 30. And then I was like, oh, wait, the Pinkertons are an actual... they're not like the evil empire that all detective people just agreed to use. They're an actual thing.
Yeah,
So there's
they're really out
that.
there.
You know, I, from my point of view, if I could put my 2 cents in, I don't understand why you go to a detective agency right off the bat. Where's your cease and desist? I mean, this kind of shit happens in video games all the time, and there's a cease and desist sent right out, and then threat of lawsuit, and possibly a lawsuit is filed. That's how you handle this stuff. You don't, like, hire thugs to go to their house to be like, give us the cars, bro. You know, it's real weird and, like, very old school. I think...
Yeah.
I also am a huge collectible card guy, or I used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, so for everybody out there, me and Wizard are just finding out more and more about each other every day. But yeah, I'm a huge Legend of the Five Rings, Magic the Gathering. I had a couple of those decks. Played in a bunch of Legend of the Five Rings tournaments. I even played Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry, everybody. I've recently played Pokemon with my kid. I got into digital card games, and I play a ton of those too. I'm very into the card game kind of world mentality. Yeah, like, I don't... First of all, a YouTube guy going on the internet and being like, this is a card that's going to come out for Magic, is a little silly to me that it's that much of a derailment to your marketing strategy. You know, you look at...
Right.
I hate to make the correlation between video games again, but obviously that's one of the most areas of experience that I have. In video games, you know, that's how Twitch people make their money. It's like companies are like, play our game. It gives us free, gives us free publicity. So it blows my mind that they bypassed every normal channel to go right to, let's send psychos to the door. Like, that seems like a real escalation, you know?
Yeah, going straight to Pinkertons is like, what did you guys learn nothing from the last 8 months?
I don't know what they're doing right now. I mean, you just look at the mistakes that they have made in the last... And I'm going to drop some hot tea on this. D&D's not that good to start. As
That's
a
right.
system.
You're not a big D&D.
I'm not a D&D guy. It's not that good to start. We could have this debate on another show. I'm sure we will, and I might get a little hateful.
We should talk about that.
We should. It's not that great a system. That being said, if it's not, the reason it's so popular is because it instilled itself as like the first, right? It's the pillar of the RPG community. Everything kind of comes back to it.
Right. It's definitely got a legacy for itself, and I'm sure that does play a huge role in it. I'm a TTRPG fan. Hey. I am a D&D fan.
I am not.
So we are going to have that show at some point.
I can't wait. That'll be a fun show. And that ends our relationship. It was short and sweet.
I'll throw a D4 at you.
No! Kryptonite! Yeah, I don't know. I just, personally, if you're trying to rest on the laurels of your system, that's a bad idea, man. I think that you need to get your stuff together. I don't understand how you can make so many mistakes in such a small period of time as a company.
Yeah, there's that. There's, Hasbro's stock took a big hit at the end of last year because they mismanaged the Magic the Gathering IP so badly.
Yeah.
There was a huge fallout with Magic the Gathering back then. It really nailed them hard. Now you have this. I mean, this is your bread and butter for Wizards of the Coast. Like, what you guys doing here? Like, why are you, devastating your own products here? Why are you devastating your own name, your reputation? Why are you attacking your money makers, your fans?
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. And what's crazy to me too is, you mentioned that Hasbro is basically the owner of all these companies, which I think is one of the big problems that caused the whole licensing deal, because you had a company that was looking at a product and they didn't understand. You know what I mean? And that's what it came down to. But you have Hasbro doing this. Why have we never heard of so Hasbro just gets evil with Magic the Gathering and D&D? Like why haven't we heard about oh man, the new Uno was coming out, but they had to shoot a bunch of people. What Why is it just like something about the nerdy parts of Hasbro is like, oh, we gotta just go shock and awe on these guys, man. Oh,
Honestly, I think what you just said there was probably why. Because it's the nerdy parts.
yeah.
We have like grown adults loving these games. For me, like I play D&D as part of the way to keep my mind sane and make sure that I have friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a busy person on my day-to-day life and all this stuff going on. I started getting into TTRPGs and all of these things so I can force myself to be in front of human beings playing a game, you know,
Yeah.
a couple times a month. And I think a lot of adult gamers out there do the same thing. But I think that Hasbro doesn't have that mindset. They don't understand their adult audience. They understand maybe that they're a toy company. They've been making toys for kids,
Yeah.
and they maybe don't understand the individuals and why they care about these products and what it actually gives them. Because for
Yeah.
me, TTRPGs give me community. Magic the Gathering gives people community. They come together to play a game.
Yeah.
That's why grown-ups play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to kind of close it. If I might just add to it as well, Hasbro. When I was growing up, when I was a teenager, it was not cool to be a nerd. It was not cool to be what I was at all. Guess what? In 2023, we're the coolest motherfuckers out there. Everybody loves us. Like, Marvel movies are huge. Like, that all came from us, man. Like, the
Yep.
nerds rule right now. Like, anything else is bad. It's bad to be anything else. So, you guys need to get your crap together because you're pissing off the largest base for your consumer products that there is right
Yeah.
now. I mean, you've got people, and I watch reality shows with my wife. You got women on The Bachelor going, "Oh, I'm just a nerd," and like it, as a badge of honor. If that,
Right.
if I said I was a nerd when I was a kid, man, it was fighting words. Like, I mean,
Right?
I don't know. It's a whole different kind of space right now, and you are pissing off like right now in history. This is the nerds' time, and you're going after them, and it's not a good idea, man. It's really not a good idea. I think this has been good. Thanks, Wizard. Is there anything else you want to add to this?
You know, I guess one thing I would say, for anybody who happens to be watching this, if I don't think, I could be wrong. They've been doing some stupid crap, but I don't think Wizards is going to be going to a private investigator to hunting down anybody anymore. They're getting a lot of crap for this.
Yeah.
But hell, man, like, who knows? Just so you know, though, private investigators, and this is, my knowledge is based primarily in Texas, but I'm pretty sure this is larger than that. Check your own state laws. They're not the cops.
Right.
You don't have to do what they say.
Right.
Somebody shows up to your door, close the door, call the police.
Especially if they're trying to intimidate you.
Exactly.
They do not have a right to be at your house, period.
They don't. They don't have a warrant. They are not law enforcement. Do not cave to them. Close the door. Do not talk to them. Call the police if you have to. If they're not going away, right away. I mean, like, right away. Do not hesitate.
Yeah.
People do not have the right to approach you in this manner.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect way. All right, everybody. You guys can contact Old Man Gaming at Old Man Gaming DH on Facebook, at Old Man Gaming 9 on Twitter. You can also well, I think our Discord will be in the thing on the video. If you're watching this on wizardsrespite.com, come here for all of your TTRPG needs. It's an amazing channel, and then you can contact Wizard on Twitter. Correct, sir?
Twitter is probably the best way to get a hold of me. Wizards Respite. That's the name. Also, I'm gonna be trying to share the Wayback Machine videos. So.
Right. So check it out. Check it out on his stuff. And I'm gonna forego plugs since we are doing this out of an importance sort of thing, and it's gonna hurt because I'm a YouTuber, but I'm gonna forego it. You guys can check out everything we have to offer. We'll see you guys next time. And remember, just stay safe out there.